All right, guys, today is another Sunday Funday, and as of today, we have only 70 days until we leave here for the Hot Rod Power Tour 2023 in this Mustang. So we've got to have this thing freaking finished. So today is just going to be a hodgepodge of different things. Got a bunch of different kind of goals of what I'd like to do, but we'll see how time permits, how it all goes. At this point in the build with, harnesses and putting all the mechanicals like the intake manifold, turbo headers and stuff back on, it's easy, but a lot of the stuff, because we're not putting it back to stock, right, because we're turbocharging it, we've got to kind of figure out where a lot of this stuff can live. Can it still live safely? Like some of the wiring harnesses being next to the turbo stuff. So we got to kind of be careful how we route it. Otherwise, we're just going to waste our time and have to redo it. So I was out here yesterday doing a whole bunch of work. So let me kind of get you guys caught up on what we've been doing. All right, so I started laying out some of the wiring. I got the battery box kind of installed where I wanted, although I think I need to take it back out because I want some of this harness to go underneath it. But we got that kind of going. We got the MF Customs harness back. So this is like stock harness, but then they take out all the crap we don't need. So it's just got gauges. It gets rid of the CCRM, gives us this beautiful relay pack. So that's kind of all ran. Let me show you how. Oh, I kind of got it ran up here in this fender well. Got it all zip tied nicely out of the way. I'm just going to wait to put the liner back in just in case anything happens. We need to get access. So we'll do that at the very end. Yesterday, I also came in and adjusted the suspension. So I think I lowered this by about 3/4 of an inch. It probably needs to go more than that, but I was like, well, let's just wait because we still don't have like battery in the car, turbo in the car, all this other additional heavy stuff, right? So I figured, 3/4 inch, let's try that. Because I had about 4 fingers, so, probably still got a few left or whatever, but tightened up the tie rod, so suspension's good to go. We could put the wheels back on and lower it later, but I like having the car a little bit higher to be able to put some of this stuff on. But the next thing I think I'd like to do is we could probably go ahead and throw on the Holley Hi Ram, because I think at this point we need to get that thing on there so that when we start putting on the Holley harness later in the week, we can actually run it, find out where everything is. Plus, I hate it just being open, getting junk inside of it. So we're going to throw the Hi Ram on. I need to do a little bit of work with this lower harness. So this factory lower battery harness or power harness, it follows around the bottom of the motor, which is fine if you're running naturally aspirated, your manifolds go back, but our manifolds come this way. So I'm a little bit worried about that. So I think we need to get the turbo manifolds bolted on today so we can kind of see how that's going to look, see if we're going to run it this way, or I was mocking it up yesterday, running it around. So it looks like that'll work too, because some of these connectors on here, like I think this is like the TFI stuff, and we're not using a TFI, so I don't think we even need those wires, so it doesn't matter if they're in the back or whatever. We can cut them or whatever. But anyway, we'll see. If I can get it to work like that, that's how we'll do it. Other things we need to work on is the drive shaft. I got new U-joints for the drive shaft, so I want to get those on. Again, there was nothing wrong with the car before, but who knows? They could be original, really old. So got a couple new U-joints. We'll get those tossed on. Then we can get the drive shaft bolted back into the car, and then that's going to let me fill the transmission up with trans fluid. And then we can put the shifter back, all that kind of stuff. The only thing is, before I do all that, I do want to swap out. I want to put in a cup holder. So I've already got an extra console that has the center cup thing, and I don't want to swap the whole console because it doesn't match color-wise. So what a lot of guys have done, I've seen them where they just cut this out with a Dremel tool, and then they drop that piece in and kind of glue it in there. I think that's what I'm going to do. Then I won't even have to take it out and just Dremel it, pop it in, and then we can fill the trans up with trans fluid. I saw where some guys fill it up actually through the top of the trans here. So I think that's kind of a cool idea. That way we don't have to do it from underneath. So I'd like to get all that done. Just one more thing checked off the list. All right, first things first, let's get the Holley Hi Ram mounted. I'm just super stoked to get that freaking thing on there. So I kind of got the gaskets in place the other day, just kind of mocking it up. But I think we're going to pull those off. So what a lot of guys do when I was watching a lot of videos is they put kind of they smear some RTV silicone around the coolant ports on both sides. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it on front and back, and then we just stick those down. And I think I'm going to use, so these Felpro gaskets came with these kind of rubber things. So instead of using like a ton of RTV, you just kind of use these. And what I kind of like about it, they even have a little lip portion that comes down. So I feel like that kind of helps keep oil and stuff from coming out. But anyway, then you just dab some RTV in the corner. So I think we're going to try this out. I'll probably end up crying because it's going to leak or something, but we're going to give that a shot. In the last video, you saw we got all this stuff kind of sorted out for the heater, hose, crap. So this is kind of good to go. So yeah. Oh, I want to show you guys this too. So in the back here, this is going to be where factory vacuum lines come in, like from the brake booster. And then there's also some kind of like little vacuum tree thing that goes to that. And then what I put in here, this is a little 1/8 inch MPT push lock fitting. So we'll be able to just do a push lock, and then I'm not sure where I'm going to mount it yet, but this will give us feed for like the blow-off valve, wastegate, any other additional lines that we need, fuel pressure regulator. So all that stuff will run off these sweet little push lock fittings, which I've never used before, but I feel like it's going to be so much better than having like a small rubber vacuum hose with freaking zip ties holding it on. So pretty stoked about that. All right, guys, so as you're watching me do this, I'm just kind of putting a little small amount on the bottom, again, of these coolant jackets. And so I've watched a lot of videos, man, and a lot of you guys just really freaking cake this stuff on. Like, it's insane. And using your fingers and stuff, like, dude, look at, it's just like using a pen. Just a little bit of stuff on here. Get a little coat. Easy peasy, baby. It's all we need. I mean, the gasket's already a gasket, right? We're just putting on a little bit extra security. So we're going to paint this on this bottom side, and then we're going to stick it on there. Having these studs, man, game changer, because it just falls right in place. The manifold's going to fall right in place. So pretty freaking sweet. So bada boom, bada bing. And then what I also did was just kind of made sure the ports are all lined up where I want them. And then I'm just kind of smushing down, kind of using this RTV, right, to help hold it in place. So that's cool. Now we just need to kind of paint the corners on the top side, basically. The next thing I did is for these little seals here, you just put a dab in each corner. So all 4 corners, and then we're going to pop on our little rubber gasket deal. All right, so these things are all set in place. And again, you know, I hope these things work because I really like them. And then super easy. I mean, just put it down. It's nice, soft rubber, silicone stuff. I mean, this is basically the same material that it looks like the oil pan gasket's made out of, and then also the reusable gaskets for the valve cover. So it should seal, hopefully. So anyway, we're good. Now we just grab the Holley. Boop, let's stick her on there. All right, boys, moment of truth. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Looks, you know what? There's some freaking debris. All kinds of stuff just blows in this garage. Blows my mind. What is that, tape? Good Lord. Definitely going to have to do an oil change as soon as we get this thing rolling. All right, let's go. Manifold 30. Well, I was a little faster than I hoped. Okay. Dang, it looks good. All right, let me see if I can find the bolts, and then we're going to torque these bad boys down. I think it calls for like 15 to 18 pound-feet. So I think on cast iron heads, it's like 25 foot-pounds or something, but I think on these, they call for like 1 round of 10, and then follow it up with like the 15 to 18. So I think just kind of going like a star crisscross pattern, starting from the middle, just going to kind of work my way around. All right, guys, so we just had a freaking calamity. I was looking for the nuts for these studs because I've had the studs installed for like 2 months now, and I could not find the freaking nuts. I don't know what happened to them. I think I might have returned them to Amazon or something. So I ended up having to run to the store real quick, bought a bunch of stainless steel 5/16, what is it, 5/16 by 24 fine thread or something, I don't know. So hopefully these work, but yeah, beautiful. Okay, so now we can get this stupid thing all tightened down. So our Hi Ram is officially bolted down. So man, it feels so good to finally have this stupid thing on there. I've taken it off and on a million times. So when you're tightening these things down, it's actually pretty simple. This side there was enough clearance for my socket to go through. I think these ended up being 13 millimeters, 13 millimeter socket. So it would slide between the rail, so you can just go straight above it. Really, really easy. The other side, the socket wouldn't fit. But the extension would. So if you saw me just taking off the extension or whatever, and so pretty easy to get access to all these and you know, get them knocked out. Now you could have also used like a shorter socket and probably just done it from here. But once the valve covers are on, especially with my coil near plug coils, you got no room. So the easiest way is right from up top. So luckily Holley makes it pretty simple. If I would have had the correct 12-point things that were on there, I think those were like 11 millimeter. It would have really, you know, the socket probably would have fit all the way through. So I just kept going back and forth. I did the final torque at 17 foot-pounds, and yeah, seems good. So I'm almost thinking maybe the next thing we can do, dang, you know what I'm really worried about now? I'm really hoping I didn't screw myself once the distributor goes in, that it's going to hit this fitting here. I did not really think about that. All right, so maybe we'll grab the, now I've already got this thing set to 50 degrees before top dead center. The compression stroke, we already did that like in a previous thing. So that's all set up. So I could just drop the distributor right in. So let's, man, fingers crossed that it's going to work with that bad boy. All right, so here's our Holley Dual Sync distributor. So again, this bad boy is going to be firing our coil near plug ignition. So we do not need, you know, this kind of cap. So we've got this nice little lower profile cap because we've got no wires, right? We're going to have coil near plug. And then this bad boy, of course, being the Dual Sync, this one's actually made for the Hi Ram. So it's very short, very stubby. And so I'm really hoping it's going to work with with that coolant thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cap off here, and then we'll see if we can drop it on in, and then see if we got room for all this stuff. All right, so I took off the cap and the rotor, because again, we don't need, you know, cap and rotor where we're going, right? So we just install it just like this, and then this little nice little billet aluminum cap will just go on top just like that. So let's go ahead and see if we can just stab it in like this guy. Oh! Almost forgot. Make sure you put your gasket on. So I looked in the box, had my gasket, and what else? It also, when you buy a dual sync, gives you some lubricant. So I'm going to go ahead and lubricate the bottom of that thing, and then let's see if we can stick it in. All right, so first bummer is we are having some contact with this barb fitting. So I'm hoping I'll go ahead and pull this barb fitting back off real quick. We'll drop this in, lock it down, and then hopefully we should be able to thread this in, and it'll, you know, have enough clearance and stuff to work. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. All right, so the distributor went in, but the problem is we will not have clearance for the barb. So you can see it's going to be hitting. So this is not going to work. I'm going to have to switch, you know, put the stock sensor back on this side, and then we'll put the Holley over here. And so I think, like I was telling you guys in one of the last videos when I was trying to do the heater lines, basically this thing will work, but it needs to have either a spacer so it can come up a little bit, just like a 3/8 MPT male to 3/8 MPT female, and then that way that'll all work. That's probably what I'm thinking. Or you could kind of use it as is, I think, face it this way, have the sensor go that way, and then I would need like a 90-degree fitting pushing it this way. Yeah, I think the spacer is probably, I'm going to get online, I'll look for that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get these two guys swapped around at least for now, or at least out of there. What sucks is it's so much harder to take it off right now that the whole intake's installed. So this is what I mean when you're putting these cars together like this, stuff you don't think about and, ends up biting you, and now you're stuck redoing all this stuff, right? So hopefully these things come out no problem. Boys, we have gotten into a freaking pickle with this thing. So I knew I had to take off the nut here so this would clear and swing. But then I remembered, okay, this is going to hit the freaking cylinder head. That was the main reason why I had this off the car originally to put this in. So yeah, look at this. Will not spin out, right? So I'm going to have to take my cutoff wheel. I'm going to throw some stuff over here to protect this. And then we're literally just we're going to have to chop this right off and call this thing dead. Luckily, I do have another one of these. But anyway, get that off and then commence with the switching it around. But what a pain in the butt. All right, let me catch you guys up because I'm just kind of all over the place doing different stuff. So let's see. We got, I kind of put these sensors, connected them with, this for the factory gauges, right? Now that we got that all on there, I found out I need to get a new bolt for the hold down because this is definitely not going to work. And I just got that in there for now. I'll need to order that little spacer thing I was telling you guys. I did end up running the throttle cable. So we got a functioning throttle cable. So that's cool. Big old 102 millimeter on that bad boy. And then I was just I want to put the manifolds on. But before I do that, I was kind of messing around with that bottom battery harness. And so basically I talked to the dudes at MF Customs, and he was telling me basically I can just de-loom this thing. And I already went and I pulled off a bunch of these metal clips that used to go onto like the front of the motor, like they would attach to the timing cover. I don't want to have any of that crap on there anymore. So I'm going to go ahead, take off all the loom on this thing real quick, and then all we need to keep is just the battery cable, the battery cable, the trigger wire for the starter, and I think that was it. I guess we'll keep, I don't even know if we need to keep these little things, but I do know these connect up there, so I'll keep those. So anyway, pretty easy, right? So I'm going to get this all de-loomed. I wanted to do it anyway because it looks like crap. It's super dirty. A lot of it's kind of crispy from all the heat over the years. So I'm going to cut this all off, get rid of what I don't need because I do not need these 3 connectors. This is like, I think, TFI stuff and then low oil, oxygen sensor crap, that we no longer need. So we're just going to get rid of all that stuff. All right, so I ended up spending some time here. This one I actually did yesterday. I didn't show you guys, but this is the alternator harness. So this was super duper crispy. I mean, literally just falling apart. So basically I just put some new loom on it, taped it up. I think that was about it. So, this one's got nice soft loom, should be good to go. This is ready to, bolt on eventually. And this bad boy, so this is our battery harness one that's kind of going like under the motor and stuff. So did quite a few things. One is I talked to the guys at MF Customs. They told me, hey, you can actually just de-loom it, take apart, get rid of like the 3 connectors. I think one's for the O2 sensor, and then the rest were for like the TFI. So I took it all apart. It was all crappy, dirty and stuff anyway, so I'm really, happy to be able to put new loom on it. I also had to make modifications. So my original harness, of course, had like a little nice connector for the starter, but since I went to an aftermarket starter, it just has a stud. It didn't have like the OEM style connector. So I had to just put a little thing on there, heat taped it up or shrink wrapped it, whatever it is, heat wrap, I don't even know. Got that all done, and what was the other mod? Basically, and then these had a bunch of brackets. I took all the stupid brackets off. There might be one bracket I reuse that goes to the bottom of the engine mount by the starter just to kind of hold that in place. But the rest of it, I'm just going to zip tie it to whatever's around it. And then I cut off the really shitty battery connector. And I like to use these things. We use these on our death cart. And it's freaking awesome, especially for, a toy car like this where you only drive it every now and then. You can literally just walk right up, no tools, pull the battery cable off, make sure there's no drain on the battery, stuff like that. It's freaking awesome. Or what I'm thinking too is for the power tour, every night, I can literally just come in here, disconnect real quick, pull my battery out of the car. That way no one can steal it, At least they can't drive it and steal it. They can still push it on a trailer. But so stuff like that, right? Just makes it really convenient. And these things are super cheap, so I put these in the link in the description. The other thing I like about these is I've got 2 extra studs here. So if I need to add some wiring, I just put little eyelets on, and then boom, I've got nice spots to add multiple eyelets to both the positive and the negative. So these things are super awesome. All right, so for this power harness, like I was telling you guys, originally it gets, bolted to the junction box thing or whatever. You got your negative cable, and then it would go down right to the front of the cover underneath the front, which is a big no-no for us because we're gonna have turbo manifolds, and the crossover comes right below the pulley there, right? So when I got to looking, I crawled underneath the car, and I was able to get it connected to the starter, and then I've got it running basically straight under the oil pan right behind the cross member. And the plan is I'm just going to zip tie it to the cross member across. And then as it comes up, it's got the ground wire connection, which would normally go on the engine mount on this side. It works perfectly where it's going to go right to the engine mount on this side, and they're already studded, right? So I'm going to put this bolt on. That'll give us our ground right there. And then I've just got it routed up on this side of the clutch cable. That way it'll be kind of as far against here as possible to try to protect it from the heat of the headers. And then this guy just gets connected up here, and then all this stuff's going to go underneath this battery tray. So everything should be pretty clean, and then we don't have all kinds of like crazy wires trying to go, at least not underneath the motor. So pretty stoked. I'm going to crawl under here in 1 second, show you guys what we did, but I actually ended up rerouting this wire again. So remember before we kind of had it in between here, but I was still worried that might be too close to the manifold. So I ended up rerouting it. So where's it coming up? You see that ground going to the mount, and then it's coming up right there on this side of the brake booster, and then comes around, and it'll go underneath this battery tray. So it'll be completely tucked, and I think that's going to probably give us the the best heat protection, right? That way we got nothing there except for that cable, which hopefully that's going to be fine. But yeah, nice and clean. So I think that's going to be good. Hopefully all the Holley stuff is just going to kind of stay on the motor, and then, be good to go. Coming along, man, slowly but surely. All right, boys, so from under the car here, let's see, this is our wire going up top to where like the battery is, right? And then you can see it's coming down. There's our ground going to the engine block. And the way I've got this, we've got clearance with the steering shaft the whole way, nothing's touching. And then I did throw an extra zip tie right here to the cable just to kind of hold it all in place. And then we've got it running right along the cross member up, so it can't get dragged on the ground or nothing like that. And then we come to this side, and it goes right to the starter. Again, it's not touching anything. It's not touching the block. It's not touching the oil pan. So shouldn't see a whole lot of heat. Should be freaking beautiful. So pretty stoked about that whole setup. All right, so check it out. We got this all kind of just, it's all still in mock-up phase, whatever, but got the battery in. It's in the tray. Got this wiring all ran and stuff. So again, pretty pleased with how that all turned out. Of course, we're going to have to clean this up, but again, that should be pretty clean on this side of the car, so it's going to be just a whole lot cleaner. Love it. All right, but now moment of truth. Want to see if we got some power. Oh, we got lights, baby. All right. I know it seems stupid that I'm just happy we got power to the car and nothing's on fire, but man, I tell you what, that is great freaking news. So here's some of our Holley wires. Oh man, it's great news, Camo.
What?
It's just great that the car didn't burn down. It's got battery power. So that's great. Now we still need to run some more grounds. I did buy a bunch of engine strap grounds. Bought a little pack of these things. So we'll try to run some of those. We're about to go right now. It's not even that warm, but it's beautiful out there today.
It's so warm.
So warm?
It is warm. It hasn't even been out there yet.
All right, we're going to do one last thing that I want to show everyone before we take off. You ready?
No, let me show you.
All right, the last thing I wanted to show you guys is yesterday when I lowered the suspension by about 3/4 of an inch, so I wanted to get it back down on the wheels just to check it out, and I couldn't be happier. I think this is like perfect. If anything, maybe it's a little too low, but because we do have the battery in here, but we still have, a 50-pound, 70-pound turbo setup, with manifolds, with turbocharger, all that stuff. So, it might drop it a little bit, but I think that's pretty good. It looks freaking awesome. Now the rear looks huge, so we need to get that probably dropped down a little bit. But the thing is with the rear, when we go to do the Hot Rod Power Tour, we're going to have so much crap, tools, luggage, baggage. That's all going to be in the trunk, so that's going to lower the car down quite a bit. So I don't want to go too low, otherwise we'll get some rubbing. But pretty stoked with how that turned out with these Max Peating Rods coilovers. All right, boys, I took all this crap off, man. It's the first time. Be careful. It's the first time I've seen the car with all the stuff off in like 3 or 4 months, right? Since December. But so again, the engine, didn't get quite far along as I wanted to. I did want to get the manifolds on, but all of the stock wiring harness is routed. It's all in. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I mean, the only exception is the short alternator little line that goes from here to the alternator, but we re-terminated it. We got it made. It's ready to go. So that's all good. So next week, I'm going to be busy probably pretty much all week, but next week we'll get the manifolds bolted on. Once those are on, we'll start to assemble probably the whole turbo setup, right? Manifolds on, crossover, then we can probably start to put brackets, power steering pump, alternator, all that kind of stuff. Start getting all that going, and then, also start to lay out the Holley harness. So we're getting there. At least we got power. Nothing blew up. That's a good sign. So it probably will, right. Now, the only other thing is, since we got those lower engine mounts in, I was looking at this and I was like, man, we got a chance. I mean, if we come down here, look at that, parallel or whatever with the other fender, it's a lot better. I mean, it's still high, but we got a 3.5-inch scoop, right? So it might clear, man. It might, right?
Wasn't this the same car that we rode on our last car tour?
No. Yeah, we took the 65. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to get outside and enjoy some sunshine. So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace out.